There's a man on the right, cover him, I yelled out to my teammates. The opposing team was on a hard offensive. Everything was going through my head. I looked at the clock briefly, 23 seconds left. Where was the attacker going to shoot? When should I come out? I hoped I wouldn't miss it. I mean, if I didn't stop this shot, we would lose. 12 seconds now. My teammates were counting on me. Someone stepped to him. Keep the defensive line high, I exclaimed. The attacker was in the middle between the center field and the top of the 18-yard box. 10 seconds. He was approaching quickly, he was able to get past two of the defenders, and it looked like it was going to end up being a one-on-one, mano-a-mano, he and I. Stopping the shot was all that mattered. As he approached to shoot, I started sprinting toward him to intercept his pass so I could stop the shot. When I got close enough, I knew I had to start sliding in as I went in for the attack. I could tell he wasn't going to quit until he either had a goal or the ball was back down on his end of the pitch. Sliding in, I kept my whole body low so the ball wouldn't go under me, and in doing so, I could also cut off more and more of an angle for him to shoot. From my legs to my head, I kept low. As our pass finally collided, his mind was already made up to shoot, even if I was in the way. My head was close to his foot, and as he shot, I lifted the ball so he wouldn't get his shot off. So instead of hitting the ball, he ended up hitting my left temple. It may have only happened in a second, but it felt like an eternity. I watched myself pick up the ball, and as I looked back at him, all I could see coming at me was the blur of his black, blue, and white of his cleat. In that instant, right before he struck me, I could hear the crowd screaming, the wind blowing across the ground, and even the pounding of other players running on the turf. Everything went dark. When I finally awoke, realizing I was unconscious for some time, I felt surrounded by my teammates and coaches. I could hear the sound of the ambulance blaring as it raced down the street next to the stadium. All of it was just a blur, from when I was initially hit to the ambulance ride to the night at the hospital. All I remember were my teammates asking if I was alright and a few questions the paramedics asked me during the short trip from the field to the emergency room. As I lay in the bed in the ER, I slightly remember talking to the doctors, answering even more questions, thinking, the paramedics already asked me this, why are you asking me again? After the doctors were done asking their questions, I was taken to a room to begin an MRI scan. The machine I was placed in was comparable to a huge pipe. It was cold to the touch and a little unsettling. The tests they did were to make sure I wouldn't have any permanent brain damage. As soon as I was finally cleared to leave the hospital and they took my neck brace off, I was told I had a third-degree concussion and I wasn't supposed to sleep that night, and I was also to be placed on bed rest for 2 days. I definitely wouldn't wish the experience on anyone, though in all of the confusion, I did find the beauty in seeing it all happen in slow motion. Being able to take in every single detail down to what the turf felt like against my face was an experience people rarely feel. During the following days, everything I didn't remember was filled in by my friends and family. I had a continuing headache in the back of my head, which made it unusually hard to concentrate on even the smallest of tasks. Over the next few weeks, I had to miss about 4 or 5 games before I was finally cleared to play. When I finally came back to play, I was a little reluctant to try my hardest and to come out on counterattacks. I was afraid of going unconscious again. I mean, who wouldn't be? It wasn't until the end of junior year and the full length of my senior year that I was mentally ready to go my hardest in every game. In my final years of playing soccer, I have learned not to be afraid. What happens during the game happens for a reason and can be overcome. Some might say I will never be the same after my incident, but I have set out to prove them wrong.